Is it going to work on the first try? Oh, it worked on the first try.
Yay, we're live. It's alive. It's alive.
Yay.
Yay, 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 yay. And I bet you want me to check to make sure
That the audio is working?
Yes.
Yes, that would be a good idea.
Audio is working. There you go.
Good.
So, hello everybody and happy Sunday.
Welcome. I am the Kaiji no Kame from the Toku Animation News Network. This is
Krelka Kane.
And today's video is brought to you by Brave Like Godzilla. It's a book about Godzilla and Minya has a problem. Because he's got to fight Gabara.
It's actually a cute little children's book.
Brave like Godzilla. Actually, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in this one. It's like Godzilla's Revenge or All Monsters Attack, but actually not terrible.
Oh, wow.
And then there's Love from Godzilla.
Actually, open the front cover. I think that's the most adorable thing. If
This?
not, yes. I'm like, I want to cut those out, but I don't want to destroy the book. So I might make photocopies of those.
Oh, I thought they were stickers, actually.
I did too, but they're not. So that's why I'm sad.
I actually did not even look at this one before. What the heck?
It's such a sappy, saccharine book, but it's so cute.
I see that.
But yes, there's a lot of great children's books out there, especially for Godzilla. I picked up these two because I thought they'd be a great addition. And one of these days, I will read them.
Should have got these when I had my classroom.
I know, right? I didn't know about them then. I have to look at other kaiju type books.
All right, but we are here today to talk about Gozyuger 13 to 16. And how do you want to do this? Should we first talk about 13 and 14 as one whole, since it's basically a two-parter?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Let's talk about 13 and 14 as a whole story. 15 is the end of the first arc.
Yeah.
And 16 is beginning of the next
Which is weird, because it didn't really feel like it was an arc.
I know. But let's talk about 13 and 14 first. But before we get too far, let's say hello to some of our first viewers. They're on here. We have Axel05, Gray Hopper, and Anthony Sarkis. So hi, everyone.
You. All right.
And how dare you compare my Gozyuger to Geats? Per Gray Hopper. So just wait. Actually, I wanted to title it Convenience. How convenient. Just because it's very convenient. That's going to be a word you're going to hear a lot from me during this entire live stream. Just awareness.
So at the end of the episode, we'll have a what is today's word?
Yes. And can you put it into a sentence and can you spell it?
Too bad it's not like Pee Wee Herman where something goes wrong every time you say the word.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
I have like an alarm. That
was fun during the Pee Wee Herman show whenever they had that secret word.
But anyway, we've got 13 and 14, which had the girl from Ultraman Z in there. We finally got character development for
Ryuji.
Ryuji.
Who we find out is
rich.
Apparently so rich. Sumino is like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Which was a little creepy.
Sumino had a little gold digger moment there.
Oh my God, that's like the only song from Kanye that I think is the best song for anything with gold diggers.
I just think of the Carlos Mencia copy off of it. And Boondocks with Grandpa's hooker girlfriend, where they did the stuff, the pimp named Slickback.
Yes.
But we find out Ryuji is rich. And
she comes from a family of doctors.
And, well, our episode starts off with a monster attacking, manners monster.
No, not simply manners. Etiquette.
Well, whatever. But and then
As I choke.
a female red racer shows up wanting and fighting for traffic safety, and she can actually make them freeze when she blows a whistle.
So I actually liked how they channeled Car Ranger, because Car Ranger is in and of itself a comedic series.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot have any of the racers come in and be super serious.
Even Go-Kyger didn't even keep it super serious.
No, you can't. That's why jealousy was in that whole. But so you have to keep it where it's very tongue-in-cheek. Even if the story around it's serious, the character can't.
So I did like, well, one, I liked how she would, when she'd blow the whistle and they would freeze. And even when they were giving up business cards, she blew the whistle at him like, those are edges. They could cut somebody. But I'm like, okay, helicopter mom.
Well,
Are you sure you're not one of the go on wings?
Now, one thing I liked about it so much is when they were doing the etiquette contest as well. Not only is it etiquette, but it's Japanese etiquette, which is significantly more.
Oh my god.
So I grew up trailer trash. Well, I never lived in the trailer, so I guess it's probably more white trash. But so I never had to deal with all of this etiquette. Like the first time I went over to one of my friends' houses and I had to take my shoes off rather than walking around the entirety of the house with my shoes on, like how I always did, it was so weird.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't think I wore socks.
Oh. I forgot to plug the computer in. But continue talking while I'm...
As you blocked me completely. But, so I actually really found it fascinating because Japanese culture, it's also appropriate that when you enter in someone else's home, you take your shoes off. If you're entering someone's home for the first time, that's kind of like either a stranger or somebody that you've never been to their home, you provide them a gift.
Apparently.
I'm like...
Even the people there were like, okay.
And then when you're eating food, now I was always told never to slurp. So it wasn't the slurping that got people frustrated. It was the fact that Hoeru made a complete mess.
And he was drinking out of a finger bowl?
Yeah, which that's another thing. Like
what?
You grew up in a middle class household. Did you have to do any kind of etiquette with your mom?
No.
His mom's Satan. I love her, but
don't insult Satan.
But
Satan has morals.
So does your mom.
No.
Her morals are like super.
Those aren't.
And if you're watching,
okay, whatever. But
I do love you, but you are evil. But I will say that caught me off guard. Like all of these elements of etiquette, and then because there was an old man in the beginning, an older gentleman, who was mad about Hoeru walking while eating, and then a trio of girls on the phone yes, that's all annoying when you see people like in the middle of a walkway taking selfies and trying that,
especially if it's not at a convention.
Well, even at a convention, if you're in the middle of a walkway, I will say that's rude. Move to the side. Or if you're just standing there at a booth, at a convention, just talking to your friends and having a conversation, not actually looking at the merchandise, get the fuck out. But so that's my old person etiquette.
Okay,
but
boomer.
I was like, all right. And once they started with the whole utensils of how you use the outer ones first, I was like, I'm done.
What
Never
are
winning etiquette. I know manners, but I know basic manners to get me through in a business environment.
as far as I'm concerned, you do what you do. Just
like, I understand how to not make a mess, but I was like, okay, I am screwed.
But also, I will say the one thing that was funny though was Hoero, because he's got this heavy chain on him for not having etiquette.
Yes.
So he's crawling half the time from the weight.
I will say the acting the actor had to do to make it feel like he had the chains of what's his face, Christmas Story.
Oh, Marley?
Marley. He had to have the weight
You
of
mean
the
Christmas Carol?
Christmas Carol, yes. Marley's chains weighing him down. I found it hilarious.
Although it also made me think of how the chains that Jan person constantly gets strapped to, which are like the same chains every other episode.
Oh yeah. No, they only have a very simple stock of chains.
But I'm like, okay, I'm going to be using Chains of Love a few times in the
There's
next
other
few
chains,
reviews.
There's chains from Fleetwood Mac. There's a lot of chains songs.
Are they funny though to put with this?
With that, they probably cause hee hee ha ha, maybe. I don't know.
Whatever.
But so the whole etiquette thing I thought was hilarious because Ryuji is literally the pinnacle of etiquette.
Well, and then we have
now you understand why, being a rich kid too.
So we find out that the Red Racer is actually one of his maids, and she gets pissed when they just start being very casual with him.
Oh yes, when Hoero is like, "Can't you take this stupid chain off of me?" And because he says "stupid" in a sentence to her young master, she is like, "Way." But no, this two-parter.
Okay, well, actually, in episode one other thing I actually really liked. Well, there were two things. One was the way she used the Red Racer sword when the monster was blocking her attacks. So she stuck the sword to the monster, went to the backside, and pulled the lever to have it spark up. And
oh yes,
that I thought was very cleverly done. And there was a transition that I thought was really well done when you had the mech battle going on. And I forgot what happened, but it zooms out and you have the other Rangers fighting on the street, and then it focuses on them.
Yes.
Instead, the mech battle's gone. I did like that transition too.
Now, my favorite thing that happened to Red Racer
at the end of the first episode?
At the end of the first episode, into the second episode, is that she turned into the villain from The Walking Dead. Whoever, I can't remember his name. The guy with the baseball bat.
Oh God.
Somebody will put it in the comments, most likely. But
Negan.
I thought it was hilarious when she turns into Berserker Red Racer. I'm like, where the hell was this in Car Ranger?
And she's got the delinquency coat on.
Yes! Like she is safety extreme. But I also liked when she had the safety coat put on, because not that the Ranger suit was like overly tight on her, but I noticed when she got the delinquency jacket, the Ranger suit became a little bit more baggy, like you see delinquents wear. So, well, delinquents based on what they show in movies. I would love to know if delinquents in Japan actually dress like that. So if somebody knows for sure, please let me know.
Now it just made me think of the Jan Person episode with the kid with the lazy father, and the kid says, "Oh, great, I'm going to grow up to be a delinquent."
But I seriously, every time I see delinquents in Japanese media, they make them look so same. Like it's always that standard. I'm like, when was this delinquency style prevalent? In the 60s, 70s, 80s? Because I think it's a little old fashioned unless they still dress like that.
Well, it was the 80s, because the 80s was when they started having a big problem with schools, saying schools were a bully problem in schools. Parents were pulling their kids out of schools or something. That's why Ultraman 80, they suddenly stopped having Ultraman be the school teacher because they felt the ratings were going down because schools weren't at a positive spotlight at that time frame.
But so having her turn into a berserker mode, I absolutely loved it. And I thought the actress did such a great job with that transition.
She did better than she did when she turned villainous in Zet, where she overacted in Zet for that.
Well, how many years ago was that? A lot can change for an actor.
I know.
In 5 years.
It's just Zet's fresh in my mind.
I know, because you just watched.
So part 2, we got to see Ryuji as a kid,
where he found the book of Tega Sword Village, which is why I see now he named the cafe that. So we get a little bit more into him.
And apparently his parents had child labor in their home for servants.
Well, that's a very common thing in Japanese culture too.
Because the maid was serving the family when she was just a little girl.
She was probably a daughter of another maid, but I've seen that in a lot of manga and other stories, where they'll have the children of the servants dress like the servants to already get into that mindset. I can't imagine it's a real thing. I think it's more
I hope not.
Because I would be worried about child labor in that regard too.
They're inducting children as slaves. Okay.
Well, they do get paid out of it.
And then I did there was one scene in the episode with him that was that the music felt like it was taken out of Metroid for me. Because when he was talking about Tega, and you had that very epic sounding music, all I thought of was it coming from a sequence from Metroid Prime when Samus is in a room full of statues or whatever with the guardian being, and some new power-up has come up for her. And I did like the fight sequence between Ryuji and Red Racer.
Well, yes. I liked all of it. Honestly, this two-parter was really well executed in my opinion.
The other thing I did find funny was in episode 13, when Bouquet is drooling over the pictures of
Kuan is
Rikuo, and Kuan's like, does she not realize that's Leon?
So
okay, hey, I can totally see you two being a great couple.
Oh, I know. I was like, you are such an asshole. But before we get into the next episode, I do want to read some of the comments.
Hold on. Trying to think if there's anything else that I.
Now, I will say these were not perfect episodes.
No.
But compared to a lot of other things I've been seeing throughout the series so far, they were well structured.
Okay, I will say though, it has elevated Ryuji in my ranking of the characters. Because even though it took this long to get development, in those 2 episodes, he has had more development than Hoeru, and Rikuo combined.
Now, what's Inoue's first name for this?
Akiko.
So, when we get to the next 2 episodes, I'm going to have a lot to say about Akiko. And I'm just going to preface it by saying, y'all may not like what I have to say. And it's not against, to be mean or anything. But before we get there, let's go with some of the comments. So
there's a lot since
I know, but Geats is like Gozyuger but undercooked from Great Hopper. I do like that. We already said hi to Anthony Sarkis.
Wait, so is Geats undercooked or is Gozyuger undercooked?
Oh, let's discuss it later. So does this show just hate giving the Blue and Black Rangers unmorphed screen time? I have something to say about that too. I I've noticed that there's really only three of the 5 Rangers that get a lot of screen time. Red, which is obvious. Red is supposed to be technically the main character. Yellow and green. They get the most of everyone.
Oh, for civilian
appearance.
I don't know. I think Sumino had a few.
She doesn't seem to get a lot. So I understand.
But Rikuo, yeah. Rikuo has become my least favorite.
Well, and he keeps on dropping in appearance. Like this two-parter, he kind of runs in occasionally, helps, and he's usually more.
Because even his two-parter from a while ago, it barely had anything to do with him.
Well, and I agree there. They don't do much with the Red and Black Rangers. Axel also says, is it weird that I feel like this show is trying to be the next John Brothers? I can see where you're coming with that. I personally, I think I disagree, but I know I could see how somebody could relate it to something else with some of the tropes.
I mean, if you're trying to compare it by saying Don Brothers was amazing and this is subpar average at best, then there's Don Brothers and Gozyuger by comparison.
Next comment was, I didn't expect Car Ranger to be the first female universe warrior. They thought it would be either Shinken Red or Maji Red. I'm actually a little disappointed that it took us 13 episodes to at least get one. Not to say that we need to have as many female Reds for the Universe Warriors as male Reds, but you'd think they would sprinkle in a little bit more storytelling-wise.
Well, and the hard part is we have our first female Red is also from the series that was a parody, so she acts goofy. I would like to have a contrast where we have another female Red that's one of the more serious Reds.
Because Car Ranger, you don't expect much from it. You expect much from it because it is a
Well, I'm trying to remember, because obviously they've already taken out some Red Rangers off screen because we have Kuon giving all those rings to Tega June in the next episode. So we've already eliminated, I think they had 12 rings?
There were 12 rings. Then.
So they've just eliminated off screen 12 more Red Rangers. So I don't know what rings were taken, so I don't know who I could say from one of the more serious series who would make who I'd like to see be a Red female, because
Shinken Red would be an obvious choice.
Because there was a Red Shinken Red.
Well, yeah.
But I would actually, I think it'd be kind of funny to have we already had Tyranno Ranger, but have Ryu Ranger be a female because Ryu was a serious character. Or even one of the either Bio Red or Bio number 1, actually, I guess it's technically, or Change Dragon. Yeah, Change Dragon would be funny to see female. Especially it'd be interesting for one of the Change Dragon, because Changemen, their suits, it looks like to me they're wearing tank tops on their costumes. Mm-hmm. So it'd be fitting to have a female Red Ranger, because I don't know what they're called for men's versions of tank tops.
Well, they're still called
that you see sports players wear.
They're still called, jerseys, but tank tops still.
Okay.
There is an old-fashioned term called wife beater, but that's not the appropriate term.
But either way, Changeman would be interesting given their outfits look like they have tank tops on.
Well, yeah. Now, Axel also says, so Yellow has O Ranger, Aba Ranger, and Car Ranger rings. Do you know what 2 rings he needs to make a reference to Power Rangers? I'm not sure.
So Zeo, Turbo, and Dino Thunder. Well, obviously he would need Jew Ranger because he's a Tyrannosaurus. And trying to think. T-Rex.
Now, Kamen 64 and Star Wars fan both say hello. So, hi. Hello, fans. And hello, friends. Star Wars fan says, and I hear that the most recent episode changes the intro song. I'll definitely be skipping that intro. So, we're going to talk about that when we get to episode 16. I would not skip it because I have thoughts there. And then Grant says, also, don't compare Gozyuger to Geats. Axel says, Go Busters had an intro change. Some series do have intro song changes.
But there's a purpose for the change of this intro.
Yes. It's not... I don't want to get into it because I actually want to talk about it for the episode. Grant Smith says, hey, Satan, stuck kaiju. And then Grant says, GozyuPolar has an interesting design. Absolutely, we'll be talking about that as well. Axel next says, so what was the point of that monster having a Ginga Man ring if they were never going to use it?
Who had the Ginga Man ring?
I think the Etiquette monster, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, no. The Cake Duo.
Oh!
That's right. Because they came down and Unicorn... got it from them, and they never used it. I need your water.
There's not much left, dude.
All right, I'm going to grab more while you are reading the next comment.
And then Gojo Ego was an old man from the beginning. Yes. And then Cabrera says...
You never put this away.
Shit. It's still going to be good. You want to put it away real quick?
Yeah.
Sorry, he has to put away something I forgot to. Anthony Sarkis, Commodore 64 says, we love Toku for now and forever. Absolutely. I 1,000% agree with that. Anthony says, I want to let Kurolika know I recently met Shinichi Wakasa, who is a kaiju suit design and modeler for various Godzilla films at Monster Palooza. That is awesome. I love meeting actors, sometimes more than I love meeting the actual actors from the show. Not that the actual actors aren't cool, but the suit actors have to do so much because they have to still act in those suits with personality traits from the characters who are physically there, from the actors who appear on screen. Plus, they have to act.
I'll finish. Well,
like really strong characters.
Also, just think about like those people, the suit actors we met at Power Morphicon, when we were like, "Yeah, can we interview you?" And they're like, "You want to interview us?"
Well, yeah. It's like I honestly still believe suit actors play a very important job to a franchise because we wouldn't actually like our Toku heroes sometimes if not for the work the suit actors do. So that is honestly so cool that you met Shinichi Wakasa. Then Axel says, so is the closest thing to Car Ranger Red having a super mode? Pretty much. I think the Berserker mode was their version of a Berserker mode was like a super mode that we get in some modern Sentai series or even Power Rangers. I actually think it would have been funny to see something like that in Car Ranger, like the original series. But even if it didn't happen in the original, I still loved it. And then Grant says, what I did like about Gozyuger's villains is that they were able to get off their asses instead of doing jack and shit. Which he said jack shit, but I put jack and shit. Which I agree.
And Jack left town.
Because that's sometimes the frustration with certain villain groups is that they do nothing. And like when we get into episode 15, Candle, Bouquet, and the husband-wife duo do a little bit more. Grant also says that Gozyuger's mech is amazing. Also, Tega June was able to become Mecha. VA Game says hello. Grant says, well, say hello to the A Games.
The games.
So-
Oh, okay. That's where
Yes.
That's what I was looking for. Hello.
And then Grant says, we all know the Showa era of Sentai was the dark ages of Sentai. Was it?
Just because how serious it was.
Oh. Yeah, I will say some of my favorite series from Sentai have a combination of silliness and seriousness.
Well, yeah, because you're not a Showa person.
Oh, no.
Except for some of the Metal Hero shows.
Some of the Metal Hero shows I can handle from the Showa era, but I am a terrible Showa era fan for tokusatsu. Even some anime from the Showa era is hard for me to digest, depending on what it is. I don't know why, because I love classic films. I love so many things from decades long before that, but Showa era Toku is hard. Do you guys see Fire Candle and the female villain becoming extra rangers down the line? I am going to say no myself. I see them turning good, but I don't think they would turn into like a 7th and 8th ranger. How about you, hubby?
It depends how ambitious the show's trying to be. I could see them being like Leo and Melee, being more extra heroes than actual Gozyugers. But given how sometimes shows try to cram a million Rangers into it, it's always possible.
Now, a new member on our chat, Yang Ben 10, says Ben 10 Hook, Supremo, and Omega.
Welcome, Yang Benten.
Yes.
And Parata is here. Hello.
And then the maid needed better setup, in their opinion. It's almost a touching story arc. I understand where you think they could use better setup. And yes, that's where I think it's probably the weakest part, because she just zooms right in. No pun intended with that being a car motif, but I do agree with that.
Integrated servitude
Intergenerational.
Oh.
Integrated. How the hell do you get that from the letter combination that was written?
It's what?
And yeah, I've heard of intergenerational servitude. Yes, I thought it was a real thing. I've heard of it being a real thing.
And it's considered grateful.
Well, I guess for Japanese culture, that
Hi!
makes sense.
You have been born as a slave. Congratulations.
No, it's not slavery.
It's not.
No, they do get paid. But I actually thought intergenerational servitude went the way of the dodo. Because I don't see it being looked fondly upon in this day and age. And I know they're a different culture, and it just could be from my American perspective. Jet Vordan, another person, hello, says we need some story world building about the Sentai ring wearer in a negative emotional state, just like the maid. There is some interesting stuff that needs to be explored, not just for being a toy set.
That was something I forgot to mention. I liked how Tega just randomly possessed the mother to talk about, nothing like this has ever happened before. And her son's like, Mom, this is cool.
And when she comes back to normal, he's like, do it again. Do what? I did like the fact that Tega Sword did take over and kind of explain.
But it's kind of weird that he took her over when clearly the episode 16 shows he can just show up in front of them.
One thing we forgot from episode 14. Sorry. At the end of the episode, Ryuji makes an altar to Tega Sword. That is, and I'm Wiccan, and none of my altars ever looked like that. That was like beyond extra. And even Tega Sword lies and is like, yeah, this is great. And I liked how even Hoeru was like, wow, even Tega Sword can give a white lie. And
but yes, we need more. The problem is Gozyuger just needs world building in general. It has just been.
Just wait. I am going to start getting into that in a moment. So let me just finish up to catch up with these real quick. I don't have that many left. So do you think Goju Blue and Bouquet will actually become a couple? No. What do you think?
No.
I think that's just it's something's going to happen to change that. In my opinion, if it's done right.
I'm still under the impression that Bouquet is gonna turn out to be Sumino's sister.
So the A Games also says episode 13-14. It was interesting to see female Red Senshi in Red Racer. Did you guys hear that the former monster designer for Gozyuger used generative AI in some form? They actually talk about generative AI in the series. So using AI for anything, let me just comment.
I haven't heard anything about AI outside of Toei said they're going to only use AI for, because Toei said they are going to use AI in stuff now, but it's only going to be for character storyboards and some character designs.
So let's have a quick discussion about AI, the elephant in the room, before we get too far in. AI. What?
Just go. No.
So I work in aerospace and defense. We utilize AI to help us with some things. I don't even know what my teams utilize AI for themselves outside of what I do in human resources. But AI is used, and it can be used smartly and for the benefit of others. It is not always to be used for an easy way out. Some artists do utilize AI for help. Like I was trying to create a logo for something I needed for work. So I did actually use AI to say, can you help me get an idea for a logo? One AI site actually gave me a logo. The other AI site actually gave me a breakdown of like, okay, this is what you need to make a logo. Here are some color coding options and things like that. So AI can be used for the benefits. Now, when it comes to artistic work, we are going to have to look at different elements. Like if they're utilizing AI to help with coming together with some of the designs of characters, I am not against it as long as they're still creating their own unique work.
But if they're using AI just to not hire somebody.
Yes. Now, does that mean the world is going to change where jobs are going to change and maybe some jobs could go away due to the utilization of having AI? Sadly, yes. It is the nature of the world. We had it when robotics came into the manufacturing environment. Thousands of jobs sadly went away because you didn't need as many people to do things. So the world changes. I don't hate AI. I understand why people fear it because it can be used for some negative things. But AI is, at the end of the day, only as smart as the data that's put into it. So if you do not put the right
like we saw when we were doing the versus AI videos with their top 10 list of female Toku people when they weren't, some of them weren't even actual female characters.
So you have to make sure you're putting the right prompts. And we did those wrong prompts on purpose. But if you put the right prompts in, you can get a lot of valuable information. That's my thing. Now, if it does take away the hard work of actors, actresses, and people behind the scenes who put their life's blood into it, absolutely. Because I do not want an anime all designed and produced AI. I actually want to see the creativity of human beings.
Or even an anime that AI is the one writing the script.
Yes.
Oh.
So, next thing is, continuing the comments, and I'll be quick. Red Rangers always get the center of attention. Why? Because Japanese loves red. Well, it's actually because red represents their sun, like you put in your comment, Grant, be it part of the flag. It's the land of the rising sun. So red is very important to them. So red will always be high up there, but the one frustration I have is if you look at the series that have just recently passed with Dawn Brothers, you have Dawn Brothers, King Oger, Boom Boonger. They did have a heavy emphasis on the red, but they gave enough screen time and emphasis to all the other characters.
Yeah, Dawn Brothers, the main character, was the Yellow Ranger.
So you can't do it. And Time Ranger, going years back, yes, the Red Ranger has a lot of emphasis, but it was the story of all of them. So I don't think they can use it as an excuse of that.
Well, in Die Ranger, the Green Ranger got the biggest development from the main cast. Obviously, Cock Ranger White was the leader.
And the rings that were taken were from Go-Go 5, Turbo Red, and 5 Red.
Mm-hmm.
And that Shikager gave us the first Red Ranger, female Red in history.
And then
yes, technically, yes, she was the first female. And yeah, wife beaters were the original name of male tank tops. So Kurbadete says, I'm not sure about female Fed Ranger. Red and women are kind of eh. I know you're probably trolling there, so I'm going to ignore it. But I will say most women are annoying. Now, if you're going to have a female Red in the series, she does need to be a dragon because of the fact that most men call women, even women call women dragon ladies if they're overly authoritative and bitchy. I've been
Dragonfrau.
And then, so I'm actually, oh yeah, so the answers are Jude Ranger and Die Ranger to make a reference to Tommy. So I'm actually going to stop with Anthony's on Tega June before we continue.
All right, is that the one that says, okay, yes.
Would you say Tega June has big shoes to fill? You just keep the water, my God.
Okay.
I want my water back, but I have this. I have another version of water for the moment.
All right, so
all right,
episode 15.
So before we actually talk about the episode, let's talk about Akiko.
Well, so before we get to 16, so we're talking about.
Oh yeah, let's do it after we talk
15.
about 15. Yes,
because 15 has our origin story for Tega June, the queen of Brydon, who is apparently related to Venjix from Power Rangers RPM.
I love how that's all he talked about during lunch. So
she was an AI created by humans that decided robots could do things better than humans, so she escaped and created her own world to take over the human world.
And the no ones are all, as she says in the series, generative AI.
Yep.
So that's why I thought it was funny that you had brought that up, because generative AI is what she uses to make them.
Now, so then she sends her three goons to find 3 specific holy items.
Which is so funny because it's truly on theme of what we all know this to be.
And so the first one to shove. So we got Ryuji and Kinjiro are at the shop. Ryuji, he's gotten brand new strawberries. They're fresh from the new season, which they did look freaking delicious. And
they looked expensive.
And they were so big. They looked juicy as hell.
Now, we didn't look at strawberries in Floridia. I wonder if they're like plumper than the ones we get here.
All I know is that I hope they're better than the ones here that go bad after like 2 days. Because I'm getting so sick of that. Buy strawberries on a Sunday and by Tuesday they're furries. They're fuzzy wuzzies.
Did they have a bear?
No.
Who had no hair?
But they have lots of hair. But So we've got our cake boss people.
It's Mr.
Knife and I don't remember their name.
But they're the Cake family.
The cake boss.
Whole cake.
But no, they're not Big Mama. But anyway, they go to the shop. They walk in and Kinjiro and Ryuji are like, "Oh my god, they finally found us!" And they're just like, "Yes, yes,
Yes, we're here, but we're not here to fight."
And then Ryuji feels sorry for them, so he goes
because Mrs. brings up. Well, they bring up this whole sob story about how they just need one strawberry, or their entire lives are over.
And he goes to give him a strawberry, and he's holding the strawberry, and they snatch the entire box with the others in there and run, and they go through their little hole portal, and they're just like, "What the hell?"
Then we have Hoeru, who is working at a haunted house in June, which that's awesome. And Sumino comes because she's planning on going to haunted house. It seems from her excitement, she's a horror fan. So I have love for her.
But then Fire Candle shows up like, "Oh, the thing I need is inside this house." So he goes running in. So Hoeru and Sumino chase after him. But then suddenly they're all like grasping at each other.
So Hoeru and Fire Candle are like grasping at each other, even though they're enemies, because they're like, "Oh my god!" And Sumino
trolls them perfectly,
makes them so scared.
I just love when she does that sound and they go running and she's just hiding, like laughing over the hair of the ghost girl inside there, and she's got like the evil look.
Yep,
that was pretty fun. And then again, when they're scared, and she just like pats the hanging exorcist girl, and she just pats it and goes off. But of course, it turns out his object is a
candelabra.
Yes, candelabra. And also it seemed like Sumino had some book of haunted houses that she had to stamp as she goes.
I was like, where is this? Because I want a book of all the haunted houses I need to see so I can get it stamped to prove I am the queen.
And then Bouquet is at some florist shop.
No, not florist shop. She's at a flower house. Basically, because it's like a garden.
But she's collecting flowers, and Rikyu is there. And he just is like, "Hi." And she's like, "Oh, I just want to be a fan, nothing else."
I know, because she's still thinking of what Kyuan said, making her feel highly self-conscious.
And so he's like, "Okay, just take whatever you want."
So she gets flowers. Then you see and in between all of this, Kyuan is talking to
Take a June.
Well, the queen. I'll just go with the queen for the moment. And she gives that whole backstory. That's how we find out about it. So then they come back in sharing us cards of all of their holy objects. A wedding cake, a candelabra, and a bouquet. Because the bouquet is what the bride carries down the aisle. The candelabra is what you put on the table for the wedding party. And the cake is what they cut.
Is that what the candelabra is for?
Yes, it's for the wedding tables.
Oh.
Because depending on the type of wedding you're going to, they may have lit candles at the tables. So it's supposed to be this fanciness.
And apparently she's going to use those because they're going to help her reset the world.
And so we then, after she gets this, she becomes her true form, Tega June.
Which is just basically a female version of Take a Sword.
And Kyuan is the one piloting her.
Which I still don't like his acting.
And along with that...
Oh, and he was also enchanting the wife of
That
Cake
was the
Boss.
last episode. That wasn't this episode. That was the last episode. She fell out of love with him in episode 14 because he...
16?
No, in 14 episodes, because we're in 15, episode 14, he used their allies and then her as shields to not get shot. So she loves her husband again. And as I always say, you can look at the menu, but you can never order.
But she then comes down to Earth because the goal is she's going to marry Tega Sword.
So then...
And marrying him will reset the world.
Well, it does two things. First, so we go through all of this. So Tega Sword, who's being piloted by...
Well, no. First, I was going to get to... I like, though, the... how the wedding thing starts, where all the people around get hypnotized, and their souls basically go into form the stairways.
Oh my God, when they started saying, congratulations, congratulations, I'm like, fuck that show.
Evangelion.
I hate
and then,
that last episode.
But then, well, I liked how the bodies just disappeared. And even
after they fall down, everybody goes to look at them and they look up at Tega June
and they look
and they disappear.
And then they look back like, where'd they go? It was just like a video game. Yeah. But then I liked how the grunts were actually the bells for the wedding bells for that.
Well,
sequence.
yeah, because they played.
But I like how
the wedding march.
I like how the gold one was whacking all theirs, and then he hits himself for the final one.
Oh yeah.
So
and then when they're hanging in the ground.
So she comes down. Kuon is piloting her. We've got Hoeru piloting Tega Sword, and he's trying to fight her, and she's doing all these moves to basically play off that she's dancing with him.
Like it's their wedding party.
And then she puts a ring on his finger, kisses him, and the whole world goes...
Well, no, it's actually kind of funny. So they kiss each other. So just for any children in the crowd, when mommy and daddy get married and kiss each other, that's when the baby comes. I was like, oh my God, you are doing the oldest trope in the book of explaining how babies are born to kids back in the old, like even in the 80s. You'd always have those jokes about storks bringing babies and things of like, when they kiss each other, that's when the prince in an egg, so to speak, comes from the sky down by like a magical stork. It's like, oh my Lord.
And then everything goes kaboom. Except, well, we got Kuon takes Hoeru's ring and leaves.
Everybody else's rings disappear.
Yeah, they just disintegrate. It's like, I was just wanting to hear one of them go, but I don't want to go.
Well, they're all not.
Or,
dead, so.
I'm saying the rings. I don't feel so well, Mr. Stark.
So, let me...
And then the episode ends.
Let me say...
And that's where the Geats thing comes in, because the world ends and resets.
So let's just start with one thing here. It is highly convenient to have this all happen in one episode when you had 14 episodes to build up this story instead of doing it in one. You could have had a little bit more hints to them being AI. You could have had a little bit more of a hint instead of everybody just saying, well, it's obvious. Bouquet, wedding bouquet, the place they're at, bride on, bridal. You have fire candle. Makes sense. All the grunts are bells. Then you have the husband and wife duo, which is the knife to cut the cake and the cake. Everything screams wedding. And so, yes, that is obvious as a slap in the face. But there was no story to help build this all up. Because even Kuon being, I can't remember his suited name.
Garudo.
That doesn't reference anything wedding to me.
Maybe it's the X for the divorce.
Or like I tried to give it like if it was like something related to the wedding, it would have helped. But it didn't fit with that theme. It was very outside of it. And maybe that was on purpose. But the problem is there were so many from 1 to 14. Okay, excuse me. From 2 to 14.
15. This was 15.
I know, but
I got you.
From episode 2, because 1 is usually, you're always going to kind of introduce something. You introduce the universe, so the story occurs. From episode 2 to 14, you had so much time to give in developing the universe, developing the world, giving a little bit more hint. All you saw, even in the opening song half the time, is Tegosaur standing on top of a mountain of dead mechs. Like on a mountain of bodies for like a King of the Hill, Highlander type fights. You have people having Sentai rings that are different than your Ranger rings. So you have 2 different type of classes. You have Sentai warriors and Rangers.
Oh yeah, and that's the
for
other
the Gozyugers.
Then Kuon just gives her like 12 rings, and he's like, "Here, I collected these for you. Oh, that should be enough to do what I need." And it's like,
enough to do what? Where are we? What's going on? And so,
yeah, it's just.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room, the queen of convenience right now, Akiko. I still stand firm. I am not weighing Akiko Inoue at all by the accomplishments of her father or her grandfather. Both were tokusatsu writers. Both did different things. Not even her father, Inoue Sr., was perfect. I know his father was more of a Showa writer. So I can't speak to that because I don't know enough of what he's done.
He liked to Showa, not Tella.
Well, what series did he do in Showa?
Kamen Rider V3, Kamen Rider X, Kamen Rider.
So basically all early Kamen Rider.
He wrote most of them until they fired him halfway through Sky Rider.
And why was that?
Low ratings.
But was he a good writer?
He was fine. He did a good job for the period.
Especially for an early stage, which is more, how would you put it? More inventive.
But yeah, he did all the 70s,
experimental. That's
all the 70s Kamen Rider shows.
So yeah, he was there for the experimental phase of Kamen Rider because somebody had to build it. Even though you had Ishinomori, he wasn't the writer for the show. He was just the creator of the universe. So he helped establish Kamen Rider. Inoue, he helped a lot with more so the revival of Kamen Rider and various Sentai shows.
Well, he's the one that essentially made the Rangers of Sentai actual characters rather than just, we're there to defeat the villain and that's it.
Well, exactly, because he started with which series?
Jetman.
That's what I thought. So they were never, I would imagine, perfect when they started out. So I'm never going to bash them. Now, Akiko, I don't know her age. I'm going to think she's probably in her late 20s, early 30s. She's still building herself. I have complaints about Junko, and Junko's doing an incredible fucking job with Gov right now. What I think Akiko needs, just like I still say Junko needs, and Junko may have, is a mentor. Because mentors are great ways, and they don't have to work on the show with you. That's not the point of it. They have to be somebody that you can talk to get ideas and to get support and to get inspiration. I have 3 mentors at work. Even though I've been doing this for over 20 years, I still have people I sound off with. And so I worry for Akiko that this is going to be a very bad strike against her because right now, for being her first time as a showrunner, and at least from my awareness, haven't had the opportunity to do a lot of story writing for tokusatsu. I don't know if that's accurate, but right now, I'm going to say on her own standing, she is just like Junko with Zenkaiger. And Zenkaiger I liked better because I liked the characters more. Between those two shows, the Rangers...
Well, the Ranger cast.
The Ranger
The
cast.
villains are way better here than Zenkaiger.
I actually feel like here, she is trying to rate everybody really well. And the hard part with what her job is here is she not only has, up till this point in episode 15, not even going to talk about 16 yet, she has 5 Rangers, she has
4 villains.
4 villains, and so that's 9 characters there, plus 10th is a Monster of the Week, 11 is a Ranger of the Week.
And then Tega Sword and Tega Jun.
Yes, so she has 13 characters, 2 that rotate every 2 parts, or even sometimes a single episode that she has to write. Not that she doesn't have teams. There's probably other people in the writer's room, but that's 13 characters that have to be written for every episode. So the comment early on about does it feel like they're not giving Rikuo
And
Sumino enough screen time? How can they? They don't even give Bouquet, the husband and wife duo, and Fire Candle screen time. Or they put them on the screen for enough so you know they exist and they get paid. But beyond that, that's 13 characters every episode to every 2 episodes, plus all the side characters that have to have lines, that have to be engaged with, and anything like that.
No,
that is a hard job for any one person to do.
She doesn't have the skill set right now to manage that many characters.
No, very few people do.
And Junko had the same problem, which is why all her shows end up being Red Ranger focused, with everyone else being a side piece.
Well, and that's why I think for why she's doing well with Gov is you have 4 heroes. You have 3 riders and the side friend.
Sachika.
You then have the Stomach family, and not all of them appear all the time. So you may have 2 to 3 Stomach family members, a Monster of the Week, and
also she took her time to bring in the other.
Yes,
because
unlike Sentai, you have to bring in Sentai characters, the 5 core members, within the first 6 episodes.
Well, I mean, or they break that mold and take their time, but yes.
But generally, and very rarely do they break that mold. So that's the hard part that I will give to Akiko. She has a lot of characters to write, plus make it an anniversary series, and make it where you can sell toys. The
other hard part with this was all the objects they had to retrieve were just regular everyday objects.
That you could go to a
There was nothing. This is something that should have been done over the course of several episodes, because it should have been an actual mystical item of
It's
some
a
sort.
story, and that's why I said early on, it's convenience.
Because when Fire Candle pulls up the candelabra, I was like, really, that's it? Why is it a candelabra in this haunted house specifically? Is there something special about it that he had to go to this haunted house to get it? Instead of just going,
no, it was convenient.
Instead of just going to Walmart to buy one.
Well, they don't sell them at Walmart, but
okay, fine. Instead of going to the Spirit Halloween store, that would have been actually more fun.
Oh,
that actually would have been funnier. That Fire Candle had to go online shopping, and we see him trying to learn how to use the internet to go online to purchase a candelabra.
So that's my biggest pet peeve. Is once again the convenience of it all.
Yeah, everything was and it gets worse next episode.
Oh, well, it significantly gets worse. Now, I'll just say last bit. I don't hate Akiko. I didn't even hate Junko. I actually like Junko because Zenkaiser was my Seinfeld. I just don't think this should have been the series to have a first-time showrunner to do. And I mean first time ever, no matter what. Like, if I think it should have been a more established showrunner, like even Arakawa or Kobayashi.
I was going to say, I don't know if I want Arakawa back because he already did Gokaiger.
Well, fair.
So I wouldn't want him back. I don't think Inoue himself would have come back because Tashiki would have come back because he had just done Dawn Brothers.
Oh, Tashiki is his name?
But I think they really, if you want, I like that they've given Akiko the chance, but
I think they kind of set her up for failure.
But at the same time, this might have been something that would have been better off having 2 head writers for, because of how much lore and stuff you have to dive into.
Oh, absolutely.
Or what Sugimura did that was smart with Die Ranger is every character had their own subplot that all built into the big show. Well, each subplot was written by a different writer because Inoue wrote the Ryu Ranger and Jin arc for Fujimo, something like that. I can't think of his name right now. He wrote the Daigo Kujaku episodes. Arakawa wrote some of the episodes revolving around Kiba Ranger, I think it was. Right? Was he the one that did? He did some of the Kiba Ranger stuff. So you had different writers set. You're doing all these episodes. You're doing all those episodes.
So again, it's sure that they had different voices.
So this series should have done something like that, where you're building up subplots, because clearly there's some story going on with Sumino and Rikuo, but that has not been mentioned at all since I think episode 6.
Oh yeah, you have no idea.
So 10 episodes ago. Why? This is something that should have been slowly built up, even before we reach this reset button. Because the problem is, obviously, because this reset button, everything's going to have to go back to status quo, because then all those plot points they started in the first few episodes would be pointless.
Yes.
So, which brings in the next frustration, which let's cover episode 16, put those out, and then we'll get to the rest of the comments.
So, do you want us to read? Oh, so you want us to go through episode 16 before we go through the comments?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, episode 16 kicks off with the beginning of episode 1, where Hoeru is working at the convenience store. A guy comes in to rob the store. Only this time, he grabs an ice cream instead of a hot dog.
Yeah, he grabs a popsicle.
And Hoeru goes to stop him, and some guy in white clothing
with this jacket that looks like he's out of Final Fantasy.
I was thinking Garo. Comes in, whoops the guy's ass, hands the manager money to buy so that people in the store can buy everything, gives the criminal the ice cream and says, "You need to rethink your life choices," and leaves. Then this little bear mech gives Hoeru this bill because apparently he expects Hoeru to foot the bill for saving the shop.
And preventing him from doing something stupid.
And Hoeru runs up to him, and the guy's like, "Yeah, did you think being a superhero is going to be free? Well, here, I'll give you something free," and restores all of Hoeru's memories of what happened. Because when the reset happened, everyone lost their memories.
And what did you think about that reset? What did you think about that restoration? It has a very powerful C-letter word.
Continuity?
No. Convenience.
Bird! Convenience! Ah! But remember, he was also working at a convenience store.
Well, yes.
So yes, of course it was convenient.
I was like, okay.
But yes.
The convenience store I didn't have a care about. I was like, fine, you reset the world.
But then Hoeru goes into his pocket and just happens to have the ring in there.
You.
Like, oh, I have the ring in here. And then Tega Sword shows up like, oh, hi, you can see me now because you've got your ring back. Because somebody must have saved your ring from being destroyed. I wonder who that was. And then it fades into Kuon.
And then we see all of the other Rangers, like we see Sumino, who is very frugal.
Well, no. So he goes to Tega Sword Village, which is now just a apartment complex or something,
apparently,
or a motel.
Apparently.
And the mother and Ryuji are just swinging around wearing some ugly sweaters because apparently it's Christmas.
But they're like a couple and they're dancing.
Which is weird because she's probably, like 10, 15 years older than him?
Well, okay. Is that really? That's
And then, she's got a kid.
So?
And then Sumino walks out because she's an environmentalist hippie.
Yeah, she's frugal.
And then we have Rikuo is some nervous guy who needs charms.
Now, I will say the saddest one was seeing Kinjiro. You see the actual actor for Kinjiro.
The old man.
The old man. So I like how he still keeps popping up in the series so they're not just forgetting that plot point. But you see Kinjiro being led by a care worker because he seems to be having Alzheimer's or senility. And that, I will say, was heartbreaking because I'm like, no.
And then Tega Sword's like, yeah, the whole world's been reset, so this is why they're that way. Okay. And then we find out that Tega June is like, yeah, the world didn't reset properly because we didn't have enough rings to reset it in what I wanted it to be.
Well, she could have said that episode 15. However, we then get
and the child is missing.
Yes, and then we get a new theme song, which is really, we get a new opening song. And I say opening with heavy quotations because I will say I'll laugh my ass off if it was the opening song going forward.
Or at least throughout for this arc.
Yes, because it's an opening song relishing all of the elements of our sixth ranger. And all of the other rangers are backgrounds, like far backgrounds.
They aren't even seen in costume in the opening song until the tail end of the... And I did like that, though. I liked the concept of, our show's going to be on our sixth ranger from now on for a little bit. Cool. Or so I thought.
Oh, God.
But then,
was stupid too.
So we start going through that this guy can do practically anything because he is a god among the world, which I totally related to.
Oh, Jesus.
All I was missing was having him say, Grandma told me that blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I thought you were waiting for him to, be debonairly dressed and everyone looking at him like the most important person in the world. I don't know. Ace?
But... so it's like, okay, we're going to have GozyuPolar as, the sole hero for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Hoyoru has his memory back already. And he's got this little polar bear Mac thing that's flying around with him.
Mac or Mac?
Mac.
You sound like you said Mac. I was like, no, it's not an Apple product.
I like his name Kumade because Kuma is bear in Japanese. So I like that his name is actually based off his animal.
And I did like the fact that we do see that he was the winner of the last Ranger War.
Yeah, he was the one that was fighting. He was the previous Gozyuwo.
So he keeps calling Hoeru Gen 2.
Second gen.
Or second gen.
Or new gen. Something like that.
No, it was Gen 2.
Okay.
Or second generation. I thought every time he said Gen 2, I was like, are we talking about Transformers now?
But...
because that's all I hear is Gen 2 Transformers.
But so here, Hoyoru is on his own. All his friends, all the other Rangers are living new lives. They have no memory of anything. So he, Monster...
so the story goes.
Monster shows up. What was the monster?
The monster. Oh God. Oh no, it was two old monsters.
Oh yes,
But
yes,
the
yes.
world reset.
That's right. Yeah, it was the
It was the party monster and
Macaulay Culkin.
which is an incredible movie. I actually need to get that when it comes out to 4K. But
What was the other one? Oh well.
but
Yeah, they're attacking, and GozyuPolar goes to do his thing. Wolf shows up and transforms and does his like woo, and Polar's like, oh, that's actually kind of cool.
yeah, I did like that.
And they start they're fighting the monsters. Then they kind of fight each other. Then they go back to fighting the monsters.
Which makes sense for that whole Highlander thing. Because it also gave me an element more so again of another Kamen Rider series, Ryuki. Because I'm sorry, right now, the way they're wrapping this story together, I was like, Ryuki, Geats, you could go with Kabuto, but you could also go with Hibiki, or what other
Well, and then
King of the Hill type series could you go
so
with?
they're fighting the monsters, and the prince shows up out of nowhere, and
It's Berserk.
and suddenly Kumade goes into a mind world with the prince who's in ice, and the prince is like, I am gets his emo on. I am the prince of destruction. That's all I'm good for. That's all I'm here for. That was what I was born. No, you don't have to do that. I don't? No, you just follow me along. Okay, your name is going to be Goodo.
Goody Burn.
Goodo Burn.
Why
Goodo.
did they spell good with an E at the end?
Was it E?
It was Goode. I'm like, are we in Salem, Massachusetts right now?
Goody Burn? Okay. Goody Burn. Okay, I like that. So suddenly he is now Goody Burn, fully controlled by GozyuPolar.
Go back to this.
Hoero's like, duh, and then the rest of the Gozyugers just pop up. They're just already running to them in battle. He's like, oh, you got your memories back. And they're like, what do you mean we got our memories back? Like, what? What? And then they transform. It's like, huh? How did they get what? Well, that's goddamn convenient. Goddamn convenient.
Right. I was so this
Okay.
episode.
Usually I'm the one that rages when I'm pissed at a show. She was raging this time.
I was like, you know what? I am fucking done. I was like, no. I basically nearly told him we're not going to do any more of this. I'm not watching the show. And then I had to come back.
You made me watch Zenkaiger when it was airing, so you're watching this.
I know. It's my punishment. But I was like, what the fuck? What? It's like, not every... I understand this is a wish world. I understand everybody fighting has wishes. Whoever doesn't have a wish, whatever. But it was so ridiculous of how convenient everything was, because it starting in a convenience store was fine. I do think if they truly reset the world, it should have had his friend at the convenience store with him.
Oh yeah, he wasn't there.
He wasn't there. So if it was truly resetting the world, I think it would have been apropos to have that to really show its resets.
Well, and that's I guess the other thing though. If the world's been reset, does that mean all the ring wielders, like the prime minister, never were those rangers?
Like, are those rings like
So
the Dragon Balls back out into ether?
Yeah, I don't. There's that, but I think well. Let me finish off the episode. So we have a mech battle between Hoeru and GozyuPolar.
Well, I thought it was Fire Candle.
Oh yes, it was Fire Candle. I don't know why I was thinking, but yeah, Fire Candle and GozyuPolar, and all the Rangers showed up, and they're fighting. But the one thing that I noticed, I don't know, I didn't realize this before, and maybe it's because the last several Sentai shows.
Yeah.
Didn't have traditional mech battles in city streets. Boomer did, but doing that overhead, there is so much space between the buildings, like the street, has like 7-8 lanes for cars on each side of the street.
That's not a Japanese. I imagine they have a number of lanes, but
the buildings are so far spread apart, like back in the old days, that there's so much room for them to maneuver around the mech battles. I liked it like in Boominger, where it was more confined, that the buildings were closer.
I thought you liked it when they could actually do well. It was a lot of CGI too, so.
But yeah, there's like so much space that you could fit several mechs in that squares. It was like the street was an arena, while the buildings were the crowd around the arena, I guess is the best way to put it. But that stuck out to me because I'm like, I never noticed that before, that they had, because it looked more confined in Boominger most of the time. But yeah, so our episode ends, and next week is a sports theme episode.
Yeah, I feel like we're going right back to what episodes 2 through 14 were. And that's the other thing. So let me just say this, and I'll let you read a bunch of the comments because I want you to read some. But I will say I was highly disappointed with the fact that they didn't take advantage of everything, that everybody got their memories back. Because what was the point of having their rings disappear? And
they could just get them right back without...
And Hoeru's being taken by his brother. Because his brother took his ring, nobody else's rings. So how is it that they were able to recover so quickly? And what was the cost of losing? Because that's the one thing, like, I know we keep on mentioning Geats and what have you.
But there were still consequences for what was going on in Geats.
Well, yeah. There were always consequences to the action of doing that world reset. Or if you died, or anything like that. Having their personalities change, and then having nothing to show for it, where they're back to normal.
So what I think it should have been is, this episode was all GozyuPolar.
Yes.
Just 100% GozyuPolar. Next episode is when Hoeru gets his ring back to become Goju Wolf.
Which he has to get from his brother.
Yes. Kuon does some sort of, you want it, I'm playing keep away, or whatever. Then they should not even brought the rest of the cast back until at least 3-4 episodes from now.
Like, showing them is
well,
fine.
It could have been Hoeru, after that episode, the next one, Hoeru goes to the village to try to get them to remember.
Well, because I'm thinking of Boominger, that they willingly had Rangers leave the team, even though they existed. Like, think of how many episodes of Chishiro he was not in the show for.
Let me put it this way. This was Ryu Soldier levels of bullshit.
Oh, absolutely.
Because even in Ryu Soldier, when they went on their trial, at least you saw something, a clip of their trial, even though it was brief, and they just say, oh, I've been here for 2 days.
It's like the whole Nada thing.
It was something. Here, we all have our memories back. We all have our rings back. Like,
it's all kumbaya.
Why not have make this an entire arc? Like, obviously, we just watched...
It could be a mini arc.
Like, we just watched Ranger. I'm watching Ranger right now. The 6th Ranger had a 6-part arc, essentially, for their introduction. Why not have GozyuPolar have like the GozyuPolar, because the 6th Ranger always starts out more powerful. Episode 1, he handles the threat on his own. Episode 2, yeah, Hoeru's there, whatever. Then things start to turn, and GozyuPolar is like, okay, I actually need help from the rest of the team to do this after all. So then he restores the memories of the other Gozyugers. But they still have to find where their rings are.
Oh, I was livid.
Or relearn, go through a trial. Then there could have been 4 of them, 2 episodes. one for each half of the episode of each of those Rangers going through some sort of trial to get their rings back.
Mm-hmm.
Not just off screen, however it did. They may mention it in a flashback if we're lucky.
Oh, I doubt they will.
But
I don't think we're that lucky.
Yeah, this.
And if the writers claim at some interview or anything like that they did not have time, that's bullshit. Because if you think about the fact that many other series in the past had between 48 to 50 episodes to tell a fully encapsulated story. Now,
and the other thing,
are there series that I will give a little breathing room to for COVID? Yes. 01, Kyoryuger,
you mean Kira
Major, and Zenkaiger. I will give those three series the benefit of the doubt because there were a lot of restrictions that had to go on worldwide, but especially Japan.
Even Saber.
Well, exactly. I will give those particular series credit because they had to make accommodations that were unanticipated. And they had to play with it. So truthfully, they didn't have time because they were screwed out of things because they had to do other things to make up for the fact that they couldn't do what they could do because of the pandemic.
But
any other series, no.
And this show that has already broken the Sentai mold, has already tried to break Sentai tropes. Why couldn't they go farther and not have the other Rangers for several episodes?
Well, they did it in the beginning. We didn't have a full team until what?
Yeah.
Episode 6? 5
or 6.
So it's not like we had a full team immediately.
Yeah, 5.
5. But we still didn't have a full team immediately. So why is it that we didn't have a full team for 5 episodes? So we had from episode 6 to 14 where we had a full team, but we couldn't do it after the next arc. It's not like you're repeating yourself because there's a justification around it. The world reset. So why not show the consequence of it?
Yeah, it was just on one hand I am actually kind of done with this show, but on the other I'm not because I have reviewed 48 Sentai shows.
I know. And I will give it the benefit of the doubt. I will try. But if it continues to maintain this level of convenience where everything is hunky-dory.
But the funny thing is, when they did the world reset, I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Because they haven't done that for Sentai.
Okay, I want to see where this goes. This is what somebody meant by it was like Kamen Rider Geats. Okay, I like this. Oh, we've got an opening song solely on GozyuPolar. Cool. I like where this is going. This is taking a nice twist and turn. Then by the second half of the episode, I was like, what the hell?
Well, yeah. First half of the episode, I was like, okay, episode 15, I didn't like it. Episode 16, it's going on the stupid, where it's doing the refresh and you don't have everybody there.
Yeah, I liked that at first. Like, okay, it's a brand new world. We're going to have something completely new.
Because the other thing I was thinking about is all the other Sentai series that we have seen, you had a focal point where you were experiencing the story through them. King Gozyuger, it was Gira. Boom Boonger, it was Mira. Wow, that's rhymey. In Dawn Brothers, it was Haruka. Even Real Soldier, you had a focal point with Real Soul Red. That's the one thing we're also missing here. Like, it would be nice, because if you didn't think Gira was a focal point, you could even think Jeremy was. But you had somebody help guide you. You don't have that in this show. Like, I thought it was going to be Ryuji, being that he's the fanboy. But we're not even having him guide us through it.
No, and I don't like Hoiru.
The actor is good. The character is terrible.
I don't think his actor's good. I think his actor's just passing through.
No, that's true.
Because
I see where you can see
because
that.
the writing is so bad that it's hard to distinguish, is he bad because of the writing or is he just bad because he's a bad actor? He is doing nothing for me. Kuon is atrocious.
Fire Candle, I will say, is probably the best actor of the show.
Oh, Fire Candle is right now, him and Kinjiro are the saving graces of the show.
Kinjiro as well. Kinjiro's actor, I still think, having to play an old man in a kid's body.
He's doing great. Both of the Kinjiro actors are great. But yeah, Kinjiro and Fire Candle for me are saving this show.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see. Would you say Tega June has big shoes to fill coming off of Dog Dead and Well Spinder? Definitely, and haha, big shoes. Get it?
I'm ignoring it.
I do like Tega June's design. However, I don't like the CGI effect.
No.
And it's freaking hurt my eyes, hoping they find a suit actor. I don't think they will. Mainly because Tega June is probably going to be barely... Because one thing I've noticed lately is when they're doing mech battles...
For like a wall boss?
No, just in general. When they're doing mech battles now, if the mech is not going to be in more than a handful of episodes,
They don't make a suit.
It's CGI. If it's a permanent stay, it's usually a suit.
Oh,
because if you like in Don Brothers, anytime what you call it, Don, the sword, Don.
Oh, Murakami.
Not Murakami.
Whatever.
Murasami. Every time he turned into mech form,
I said
You said Murakami.
Oh.
Murasami. Every time he turned into a mech, it was CGI.
Oh,
In Zenkaiger, when they did the super ultra form, because it was only used 3 times in the show, it was CGI. When in Don Brothers again, when they had the horse, it was CGI. When they were riding the horse form. Boom Boomger had CGI for Go-Kaio, and what was the other mech that was CGI? And then they were pretty much suits because Boomer and Bundi were always being used.
Yes.
So I've noticed that CGI is used when it's a mech that's not going to be on screen that often. So I don't think Tega June's going to get a suit because she's going to rarely be on screen in full robot mode. Let's see. Wait, I forgot that mom and son characters know that the people who live in are Rangers. Yep. Tegasaur does a lot more than Gosei from Megaforce ever did. I do agree there. And he hasn't said, well, there's a reasonable explanation for that.
I never watched that.
Star Wars fan says AI sucks. Oh, and that was Mikey Arriaga that said that one about Tegasaur. So welcome. I like the O-Ranger avatar. You two started talking about AI, then an AI starts playing on the stream. AI ad started playing on the stream.
Wow. Sorry about that.
As long as you watched it to get me the ad revenue.
Oh, Jesus.
So now I can say that AI is making me money.
Well, AI is making everybody money. Just not the right people.
Parata, have you heard about the news article about an HR in a company used AI to read through resumes and CV? A staff tested the system and submitted the staff's own resume, and the AI rejected it.
Oh, actually, yes. I do know about that. And I can honestly say that there are companies starting to utilize AI for it, especially smaller companies. And I have run resumes through AI before to see what it says about somebody. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. I have, though, if you are ever looking to write a resume, I have some people who have utilized AI to write their resume, and they've done a good job. The only thing I recommend is if you're going to use it to write a professional document, like a letter or a resume, proofread that shit.
Well, okay, the other thing I did mention, a lot of my video descriptions now, I've used AI to help write them because the descriptions are the AI program is set to the YouTube algorithm. So I will write an entire video description in there, run it through AI to change it up to have the keywords that will hit hit the YouTube algorithms.
Oh, I do it as well. For my professional work, I actually put a prompt in there that it now knows because I have an account saying, please write this letter or write this notification in executive presence or different things like that.
Let's see.
But yes, if you do see a company that is consistently doing that, it is because of AI. There are a lot of companies doing that now.
Red is an auspicious color paired with gold. Missile Arrowverse 16 says hello.
Hello.
The A games. I also don't want to see something like a whole TV show used with the new Google VO3 AI video generator.
Oh,
it is scarily good. Oh, there is one thing we're going to have to watch that's AI generated, though.
What?
So somebody's been doing on YouTube their own fan recreation of one of the Charlton Doctor Who stories, the missing episodes. He's been using AI and putting them up on YouTube.
Now, is he making money for it?
No.
See,
he's actually put them up on YouTube. They're free to watch. He did the 4 missing episodes from that story.
Oh, cool.
So at some point, just to at least see the story, I do want to watch them. We just have to get the other 2, probably see if the library has it.
Well, yeah, and I have YouTube Premium, so I don't get
But yeah, he...
but watch ads if you still get them.
But somebody who's doing fan-made recreation of that story using AI. It looks kind of bad. The Doctor sometimes has a third arm.
Hey,
but
it's effort.
I want to at least see the story.
Well, admittedly, some of the anime ones for Doctor Who don't look much better. So,
and those are done by people.
Yes.
Anyway, Kamen Rider 01 for kids, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Anthony Sarkis, it'd be interesting if Tekajun was created by someone like Dr. Man as a way of trying to tie into the older series. That would be neat.
Neat. Wow. You sound old. That's neat.
Data warning. You've used 2 gigabytes of data.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to put my Wi-Fi back on. We have unlimited data.
I was going to say we have unlimited.
I do that just to know how much I'm using.
Thought you're supposed to put strawberries in very cold parts of the fridge. I do it all the time. I do prefer my strawberries cold, but you don't have to. I mean, stores don't refrigerate them when they sell them to you.
Well, they have like refrigerated unders.
Not Target. That's probably why the strawberries are bad so quickly.
Wow.
Mr. Shining Knife and Miss Sweet Cake.
Thank you. I knew it was a knife and a cake. I just couldn't remember.
So it's bad. I knew the world resetting would have been resolved by episode 16. It wasn't technically resolved, but all the Rangers have their memories back. The world itself, as far as we know, is still in reset mode.
I'm dubious.
Why do you hate the Red Ranger's brother? I think he is poorly acted. He's just a wannabe Stacy.
I do feel that the actor is not his strongest. And the reason why I can see that is because how they write Q-On is actually not terrible. It's just the actor seems to be putting in too much effort into his lines, so he's sucking up the screen rather than being a part of it. So there's subtleties where you can see if somebody is overacting. Even if they're not overacting to the ridiculousness of reading their lines like they're part of a Shakespearean opera.
You know what? I'm going to do that in my next comment I read.
But you can see when somebody's overacting, even if it's very subtle.
So episode 15.
Oh, jeez.
Really interesting ending that just leads into both a lore dropping and confusing debut episode for Polar.
Actually, I can agree with that because once you finish the episode of 16, you're like, yeah, this did nothing for Polar. Not giving him enough time to really give him a full backstory. Because just like the episode 15, his backstory was very quickly done.
Still better than Stacy's premiere episode that got hijacked by 60. What's his name? Two Kaiser. Yes.
Yes.
Hilariously grim dark episode. I liked it. Non-consensual marriage.
Oh yes, that was very non-consensual.
Especially the kissing part.
Yes.
So do you guys think GozyuPolar will be the official leader of the Gozyugers?
No.
No.
I don't think we're that lucky.
That would take balls.
No, I very rarely these days do you have a leader that's not
The main five.
Even inside the main five. Like, honestly, when was the last time we had a leader that wasn't the Red Ranger? That they had those leadership capabilities.
Well, Blue was the leader in Dawn Brothers. They nominated him to be the leader at one point.
Okay, I don't think that counts because it's Dawn Brothers.
And no, I don't. I'm trying to think right now. But all right. Let's see. Cherry Fluffbelly
Hi.
is here. Welcome. I feel that the new intro is just for episode 16, and they'll go back to the original intro in 17.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah, which is part of what I think that they should have been several episodes before everyone got their memories back, because I think this should be the intro until Polar's arc is entirely done.
I think it is.
Shut up. It better not be. So when was the last time two people have actually kissed in Sentai?
Because kissing is ew for kids. Because even when in Jetman, when Red and Pink got married, I don't think they kissed on screen.
Well, that's because Guy died. But I mean, Doman kissed Taku with the Pocky. And he kind of kissed not Takaru. Now I'm getting my oh my god. Tatsumi. With the
I don't think, honestly, like an actual kiss, I don't think there's been one in a very long time.
But yeah, I'm trying to think because Amy and Daigo never kissed in Kyoryuger.
Nope.
Nobody kissed in King Oger. Nobody got together in Boombonger. Dawn Brothers.
Even though you think that Sonoy and Momoi would have kissed.
Actually, well,
No, I'm kidding, but
didn't we see? Didn't Kijino and his wife kiss?
maybe. I know they were lovey-dovey, but now I'm not so sure.
Now I'm trying to remember. Okay, whatever. I'm getting too focused on that. Where was I? Okay. Garudo looks like he is a Kamen Rider build antagonist.
Yes. That is correct. Oh, did you like his weapon power-up that came out of nowhere?
There was a reasonable explanation for that. Well, it wasn't that it came out of nowhere. It's because Tega June just created a copy of Wolf's sword. It's actually confirmed that the intro we saw in episode 16 was apparently only for that episode, since they consider that a special opening for GozyuPolar's debut. Well, poop.
Oh, I figured that. It's not even like they're going to properly...
Yeah, it's not an opening theme. It's just his character theme. Still, poop. I can't wait to see the opening scene when GozyuPolar gets added in.
I hope they I hope they actually add him because a few of the series have done a really bad job of doing
The A game says, obviously, he's getting the bubble treatment that Sakito got in Boom Boom Jer.
pretty much.
Lord.
Or that
You say you're just...
Rukia gets in Gov.
Episode 16, at first I didn't get much of the things happening, and then when getting the translated episode, it made way more sense of what was happening. I just thought of something. If you include that Strongest Battle miniseries as a season, it means that Sentai does have 50 seasons. Or if you count a Kiba Ranger, it's 50 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
You guys think GozyuPolar is going to be this season's version of Aberrate Killer? No. We'll never have another Aberrate Killer.
Oh, that was an experiment that went really well. I don't think anybody wants to risk doing it.
I think Aberrate Killer was the last true experimental Sixth Ranger character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he was actually technically the Fifth Ranger.
Yeah, but he was the Sixth Ranger archetype.
I know.
No, because he is actually shown to be part of the team, so he isn't evil. He was supposed to be the savior of the world after getting his wish granted. So do you think GozyuPolar will turn the show around?
Dubiously.
We can hope.
No, I will give it a chance. But I just don't want it to be like Gozyuger.
I just realized I haven't watched this week's episode yet.
Oh, jeez. Sorry. We just completely ruined it. Go watch it. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, the A Games also says that Toei said it was only for episode 16.
I figured. In all honesty, I figured we wouldn't have a
Treasure No One. That was the other monster in this episode.
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you.
What Sentai videos do you have planned for this year aside from the re-review of Die Ranger? Kaka Ranger re-review, O Ranger re-review, Akiba Ranger, and some top 5 or top 10 videos.
Yeah, we're trying to get him into it. I actually want to get him after we move to watch some of the Power Ranger series and do reviews of those too.
Yeah, but that takes away time from doing from the main Toku shows I'm focused on.
I understand.
Plus, I have Kikaider, Cutie Honey.
See, nobody knew that.
No, they were asking specifically for Sentai.
Oh.
What other Sentai videos?
Okay.
But I want to do a top 10 opening themes, top villain theme songs. I still want to do with her. I tell her a Power Rangers title, and she needs to figure out what which Sentai it goes with.
Oh yeah, that's gonna fail.
I don't know if we should do that as a live stream or a pre-recorded video.
Either one, I'm still gonna fail at it. You tell me a random thing, I still have to think when he tells me, and I've seen the shows, and I'm like, that was what? Because he mentioned RPM earlier, and I was like, oh yeah, Go Busters. I was like, oh, because the whole AI thing.
Go Anger.
I know, but I thought Go Busters because of AI.
So here's some lore to help your brains. Corella Kaiju. When Goody Burn gets tamed by Polar, that is when the scrambled new world gets reset back to the Goju world we knew and loved.
Did we love it though?
Yeah, I was going to say, did we love it?
But no, kidding aside, I could see that actually being the case, and that's what frustrates me. Because he tamed the wild beast, the Prince of Destruction, and everything goes back to normal.
If that is actually the explanation, that is fucking bullshit. That would be a bigger cop-out than last week's Doctor Who episode.
That's where my frustration is, because I truthfully could see that being the lore of the Prince of Destruction becoming a good guy.
Oh my god, that would be the laziest writing ever. That would be worse than the X-Men book I just read. With the
Sins of Sinister?
No, the Axe Judgment, where the Celestials blow up the Earth and then reset the Earth like nothing happened. That would be freaking, oh my god. Oh my god.
Thanks. Who wrote that?
Oh my god.
Who wrote that? I love you still, but
Oh my god, no.
Oh,
Jesus.
EA Games.
Jesus fucking Christ.
You just broke him. I'm sorry, EA Games. You just literally broke him.
What the hell?
Okay, would you say Gozyuger is filled with plot
Conveniences?
No, it says contrivances. Oh yeah, conveniences. Yes. Sorry, Anthony. And the world we know and love is actually Mashiro's world after winning, and Mashiro made sure the world is back to how he left it. Kumade. You literally broke him, via games. I'm already guessing that this series will end with them not becoming friends.
What?
Probably. EA Games. And the end of the episode, Polar does have a new dream. Since Take a Sword is in powered down human size mode, Mashiro wants to become Ace, or at least the new god. This is turning the rings blue. I kind of got the whole Ace thing with him turning the ring blue as well. Ace as in Geats, if you remember the end of Geats. Yes. So, I'm guessing the rest of the show will be the Bear Show featuring the Gozyugers. And then Axel also says, I'm predicting you will give Gozyuger 2 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex when the series ends. And then Arrowverse says, Kaiju, I was wrong about the episode count of Kamen Rider Geats. It's not 48 episodes, it's 50. No, I thought I said 48 too where I saw it. Unless they updated it. Box Knight says, hey, y'all. I do like the first time he says y'all with an LOL. And says, I know I'm late to the party on this, but I just found out that Aki Ranger. Kind of want to see all of it. Time Force for Power Rangers. Not sure if Time Ranger is the same. Well, that's the confusing thing. Time Force and Yeah, this should have been a full arc from Vin 108. Hi, Vin. And one episode is way too fast. Concur. Kamen Rider 64. Pick a Kamen Rider season and a Digimon season that you guys could watch side by side with each other. Well, we did just watch Digimon Season 1, which is the first full series of Digimon that I've ever seen, because I've never even seen more than a couple of episodes when it aired in the US. But I would do that. And then I agree, and Arrowverse says, I agree that the finale of Doctor Who sucked. Kamen Rider 64, let me go back to refresh, says, you guys think Hector David Jr. can redeem himself, or is it too late? Who's Hector David Jr.? I have to look up who this
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
But Kamen Rider 64 said, which Rider season and Digimon season would you watch side by side with each other? But and you just said, all you said was we watched season 1 of Digimon.
Sorry, I didn't know he said which one. Sorry.
Pick a Kamen Rider season and a Digimon season. You could watch side by side with each other. I'm assuming the 2 seasons that you'd watch together. Yeah, I've only seen season 1 of Digimon, so I can't really say. And I'm getting a can't update Chrome message, which apparently Chrome's trying to update as we're doing this stream.
So Hector David Jr. was from Power Rangers. He played the Green Ranger. It looks like in.
Let me see.
Samurai and Megaforce.
Oh, he's the one that pushed down the old guy.
Well, I'm looking. He pleads guilty to battery.
Yeah, he
shoved an elderly man that he was having an argument with to the ground, though he was seriously not injured. Then he jumped in his truck, drove off, but it was identified with the help of the community. So, honestly, I'm just going to say one thing. You beat up an old person, elderly, not just old, but elderly. So somebody in their 70s, 80s or 90s, or 80s or 90s, whatever. You beat up somebody who can't physically defend themselves, you're the asshole. You can yell back at somebody who's old.
Unless they physically try to hit someone first.
Well, if they physically attack you, that's self-defense. If you physically attack them, that is just bullshit. So I truthfully am not a fan of anyone attacking another being, especially elder abuse, even if they're arguing with you, because that's just not cool.
But
it's like hitting a kid. Okay. I understand you have had some shit students. But you just don't go up and beat a kid no matter how much of an asshole they are.
Fine.
But no, I don't think anybody who lays their hands on somebody should just immediately get a pass, even if they're a celebrity.
Okay. But yeah. And the Doctor Who note, we are going to do a live stream in the next several days to talk about maybe next week to talk about our thoughts on Gatwa's 18 episodes.
2 seasons.
18 episodes.
2 seasons.
15 episodes.
2 seasons.
15 episodes.
2 seasons. He got just about as much time as Colin Baker did, so.
He had more. Colin Baker had more than him.
Still had 2 seasons.
Yeah.
2 seasons.
But Colin Baker had 13 hour-long episodes and 14 half-hour episodes.
I'm still saying.
Colin Baker had more development than Gatwa.
2 seasons. But nonetheless, I know we have been on for
almost 2 hours.
A long ass time.
But we had a lot to say about these episodes. A lot of I was ticked off. You were more ticked off than I was for once, which was pretty funny. Because when we finished, she's like, I don't want to say anything right now about the show. I just want to hold on my thoughts.
And then I couldn't hold on to my thoughts.
And I was like, okay, well, then let's go to lunch.
Yeah.
Well, plus, we were hungry by that point.
Oh, you were hungry.
If you weren't hungry, you could have said, no, let's do a live stream. But
was hungry too, but you were hungrier.
Okay, whatever. But
because he wanted mozzarella sticks.
No, I didn't. No, actually, I didn't.
Then why didn't you say something?
Because I let you choose. It's your turn.
You could have said you didn't want any.
No. No, the mozzarella sticks were fine. But anyway. Yeah. I liked episode 14.
I like 13 and 14.
I liked 14. Not a fan of the other 3. I actually didn't really like 13. I actually, yesterday when we were watching 13, I was like, oh my God. I do not like this show. Sam, I do not like this show.
That didn't rhyme.
I know, but...
you did a very bad Seuss impression.
Yeah, I know, but still.
It's Sam and I do not like
green eggs and ham. Yes, I know. Maybe I should come up with a Dr. Seuss nursery rhyme for this show, but I really do not like this show.
But with all of that said and done, what are your thoughts on this?
Tell us.
Share in the comments.
Comments, click like, subscribe, the bell notification, whatever else YouTube has to click in to support us. You can support us on Bluesky and Patreon at Toku AAN Network, Facebook, Instagram, Discord at Kaiju no Kami. Once we move, I really do need to get Twitch set up so I can do my Twitch watch parties, because they've been working for Midwest Toku on doing Gold Ranger, so I should be able to do Die Ranger on those Twitch streams. But where was I? Oh yeah, website Creativity by Design LLC.com. You can buy cool Kaiju no Kami merchandise at Creativity by Design LLC.com/shop. There's a link in the description below. And on YouTube, it's connected. There's also links in the description below for some GoFundMes, ones to help the channel survive. But then there's also one for health stuff for me and her mom. And
my mom is more important. She has pre-cancer.
Never mind. But
I love you too. You're important as well.
I actually resonate with GozyuPolar because, like him, I am a god. So everyone must love me.
I don't know if that's necessarily how it works, my love.
Kami means God. Now bow. But anyway, let's see. Last few comments. Colin Baker had 11 stories in 2 seasons. Judy had 18 stories in 2 seasons.
Thank you.
If you go by stories, but episodes, Colin Baker had more. But either way, we knew more about Colin Baker's Doctor than we will ever know about. Oh, I forgot Colin Baker's other one from the Davison season.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, he had more than.
Oh my God.
All right, but until next time.
Bye.